Hey, thank you all so much. Please have a seat. It is a treat. I'm your last X. The main event comes right after me. It has been a treat to be here with so many good friends. I appreciate Mark's advice, his friendship, and his introduction. We have been friends for 32 years. When I was elected governor and was succeeding Mark, he had won all these accolades for his tremendous accomplishments, had been in Time magazine as one of the best governors in the United States. And I asked Mark the question, bluntly, I'm going into a tough job. You've been a great governor. How can I be a great governor? And he said, Tim, the way to be a great governor is very simple. Become great and then govern naturally. And so, Mark's never had a shortage of an ego, so great advice. Mark, thanks for making it so simple. I'm with a lot of great folks tonight, not only the governors, but first ladies and elected officials and people who have all been very deeply engaged in Virginia's amazing transformation. And I just want to say a word about the transformation of Virginia in the lifetime of folks in this room. I'm 54, about a month and a half ago, and when I was born, Virginia's economy was bottom quarter of the nation, per capita income, and today we're 7th or 8th, depending upon how you measure it. A lot of the themes of the speeches tonight have been, what do we bottle about Virginia to try to take it to the nation to make the nation stronger? And I think that's a wonderful question, because Virginia is the state that has moved the most in the lifetime of people in this room, from back of the pack to front of the pack. No state has come close to making the transformation economically that we have. And as a nation, we do have to grow the economy more, so we could learn from China, India, Singapore, and we should, but why not learn something from Virginia? Why not learn something from the state that's moved the farthest and then try to do it nationally? Politicians are great oversimplifiers. There's a lot of things at stake. But I believe fundamentally that what moved Virginia in such a dramatic way, and that we've all been part of it so we can all feel some pride in it, is we just decided after a very long time to be a talent state. We would embrace talent. Whoever it was, wherever it was from, whatever it looked like, we would embrace talent. When I was born, Virginia was closing schools down rather than let children learn together if their skin colors were different. That's told as a story about racial segregation, and it is, but it's also a story about that we didn't really value talent that much if we would close schools down. Until the early 1970s, the University of Virginia and other major universities didn't admit women. That's told as a story about gender inequity, and it is, but it's also a story about talent. We didn't really value talent that much. And if you lived in rural Virginia up until the mid-60s or late 60s and you wanted to get some kind of education after high school, we didn't start building community colleges in communities around this Commonwealth till then. So if you wanted something after high school, you had to move away from home to get it, and you might or might not come back. You in this room have been part of a transformation of this Commonwealth from economically back of the pack to economic powerhouse. And I believe the single most important thing that has moved this Commonwealth is this, that we decided to be the talent state. We grew our own talent, regardless of race, regardless of color, regardless of region. We decided it was okay to attract talent from around the country and around the world. It's an immigration story too. We grew our talent, we attracted talent, and then we attracted the businesses that want to be around talent. When I was governor, it was the worst recession since the 1930s. But even in that recession, for some reason, companies kept wanting to move their corporate headquarters from other states to Virginia. Hilton, Midwest-Vaco, SAIC, CSC, Volkswagen of North America, those were just the headquarter moves. And I asked them, why would you do this in the midst of the worst recession in 70 years? And they had a lot of reasons. We generally would get outbid on incentive packages, but what they said again and again was this, that we have confidence that tomorrow if we come and we open up, we're going to have the kind of people we want to be successful, and we also have confidence that if we come 25 years from now, we'll have the people that we want to be successful. So the key is grow your talent, attract talent, and then you'll attract the institutions that will want to be around talent. And that, to me, is what we really need to do at the national level. Do you know, of all the statistics and data, and I'm a data freak, I really care about numbers. We shouldn't just measure ourselves by how hard we try or what our intentions are. The piece of data that troubles me the most is in this country, We've slipped from number 1 in the world to number 16 in the world in the percentage of our young adults that are getting degrees after high school. in the last 15 years or so. And we're going to slip further because we grew and then we're flat to even declining now nationally, and other nations aren't declining, they're climbing. So they're likely to pass us by, and we'll be 25th or 30th. If we fix everything else in this country, if we balance the budget, if we wave a magic wand and have every foreign policy challenge solved, but we keep slipping on the talent side, we're not going to be happy with the opportunities we have. Virginia teaches win the talent race and you win the economic race, and that's the race that we're in danger of losing if we don't take it more seriously in this country. While we're on the subject of talent, I've told a positive story about Virginia moving, and I can't resist by saying, of course, we're not doing anything that we can't do better. We can never be complacent. And one thing that struck me, I was thinking about what to say tonight, and for some reason the thing that just kind of came into my mind in sort of a Rorschach is the 9 folks you're hearing from tonight are a very, if I can be immodest for a minute, an extremely good representation of one half of the gene pool. We haven't had a woman governor in 71 in this Commonwealth, and we still are really underrepresented, both in this Commonwealth and elsewhere in terms of women in elected leadership. And the reason I sort of thought of that, I think, in connection with this speech is Sorensen had a very legendary alumni who probably would have been governor instead of me. Many of you connected with Sorensen remember so deeply State Senator Emily Kirk. And Emily was running for lieutenant governor in 2001, and I was a mayor supporting her. And I have no doubt that Emily would have been elected lieutenant governor that year. And I also have no doubt that if Emily had been elected lieutenant governor, then the 70th governor of Virginia would have been a woman. She would have been the first woman governor of Virginia and would also have been the first Sorensen grad to be governor of Virginia. And so while we've done some things right, I think we ought to just think about the things that we can remain to do. That's one. But probably the best investment you could make to enable that to happen and enable other things to happen is a Sorensen investment. Sorensen's about talent. Sorensen's about leadership. Sorensen's about finding people regardless of who they are or what region they come from and making sure that they have the big picture perspective, that they understand the entire state, and that they have the skills to continue to lead this Commonwealth forward as it's been led in the past. Win the talent race, you win the economic race. That's what we've done as a Commonwealth. We've shown that's the path. There's so much more to do here and elsewhere. It's now my pleasure to introduce our final speaker, who is the current governor. Well, we're all X's and former excellencies. There's one excellency in this room, and I want to introduce him. Bob McDonnell and I are friends. We met when I moved into elected statewide office from being mayor of Richmond. We might have met when I was in local office, but we worked closely together when I was lieutenant governor, and I got to know him well, he and Maureen and their families. When Bob was elected governor, well, when I was governor, Bob was my attorney general. I was his client. And that relationship between a governor and attorney general when the parties are different could be a challenging one. Bob and I had some disagreements about things, but they were on the table and above board, and we talked about them, and we understood we would disagree. But Bob did a wonderful job as Attorney General of Virginia when I was governor. My agency heads appreciated it, and I did too. We were together last night in Blacksburg at the 5th commemoration of the horrible shooting at Virginia Tech, and I remember the work that we did together to make sure that folks who had been adjudicated mentally ill and dangerous needed to make sure that those records were getting into databases to make sure that folks weren't able to unlawfully purchase weapons. And on that and many other issues, we worked in a way that I felt was very productive and very cooperative. Bob and I are different parties, and whether we're different parties or the same parties in this room, we 9 have different views and different philosophies and some differences, but that doesn't really matter so much because we are friends. And as Bob gets ready to come up, I just want to say, I'm not sure there's anybody in this room that is running for governor in 2013, but if you're thinking about it, I will tell you that Bob McDonnell will be an extremely difficult act to follow. Now, the reason I say that is this. There is a tradition among governors that when we leave the governor's mansion, we play a prank on the governor and family that follows. And some of these pranks are quite good. They're quite good. Warner played an amazing prank on my wife and children and I when we moved into the governor's mansion the first day. But if I'm going to be immodest for another second, I will say the prank that I played on Governor McDonnell and his family really needs to go into a Hall of Fame somewhere. It was so spectacular. the governor who follows Bob McDonnell should really want this job, because he's a competitor. He's going to want to outdo me. That's going to make it very tough on the next person into this office. Please give a warm welcome to Governor Bob McDonnell.